Barakat, a victim in the Chapel Hill shooting earlier this year. She attended an interfaith panel at the White House earlier today. Thanks so much for joining me, Doctor.
Thank you for having me, Ellen.
I once again express our collective condolences for the tragedy that befell your family earlier this year. And I guess I wonder, looking as we are at the conclusion of 2015, how do you make sense of what has happened? And where do you see Muslim-American relations at this point?
I don't make sense of anything, honestly. It's pretty confusing. Back in February, Leah, his wife, Yusuf of 6 weeks, and her younger sister, Suzanne, were murdered in their home from what we believe to be a hate crime, murdered by their neighbor in their own home. And with the increasing anti-Muslim rhetoric that we're hearing today from presidential candidates like Trump, it's only increasing the amount of hate crimes that we are seeing. Just in the last month alone, I believe at least 30 hate crimes have been reported. I would imagine, or I would have hoped, that in the aftermath of February, we would be coming together to address these issues, to better know our neighbors. But instead, we are inciting this hate. We are fueling the hate to continue to cause this kind of damage. And before long, Mr. Trump, you are going to have blood on your hands, and it's all going to be because of what you say.
Well, to be fair, I think there are folks who would say even if people were coming together, what happened in San Bernardino splintered any unity that might have been. And what was your reaction to that when you heard about that? You're a resident of California, is that correct?
I am a resident in California. What happened in San Bernardino was a tremendous tragedy, but I think just like what we have done, the FBI released a report today just saying that we have rushed so quickly, the media rushed so quickly to say that they pledged their allegiance to ISIS. With any other mass shooting in the U.S., take the Planned Parenthood shooting, for example, we don't attribute it to his white Christian faith. But if it's a Muslim, then all of a sudden the entire Muslim American population is responsible. And if I'm honest, I'm exhausted, I'm drained. It's not fair that when one Muslim does something or they define themselves as a Muslim, that the entire faith has to try and defend themselves. But on the contrary, when you have a white Christian man who commits a mass murder, we're not holding everyone else responsible for that. This double standard, I think, needs to end.
Well, tell me a little bit about the conversation that's happening inside the Muslim community, because it feels often like a one-way conversation, which is non-Muslims talking about or to Muslims, you are a Muslim, what is the conversation?
I mean, I think there are many conversations that are happening, obviously, between Muslims and non-Muslims and also within the Muslim community, but I think it's important to recognize that with Islam being the second largest religion in the world, Muslims make up the fabric of this country just as any other faith does, and there are different fragments within the Muslim community, there are different opinions, but to identify everyone and to fit them into one stereotype of one Muslim is also inadequate. There are conversations that need to be had for sure, but with regards to, let me rephrase that by saying, it has felt like an undue burden to try, and anytime anyone has said anything about Islam, to be the face and to be
Well, let me ask you though, how would you, because you are Muslim and we're talking about an issue where 1 billion people have been implicated, and many folks' eyes wrongly in this, but are nonetheless, Islam is at the center of this discussion. How would you like folks to talk about this? Who are not Muslim and who don't perhaps understand?
I think raising awareness about who Muslims are and just recognizing, and I think a perfect exemplary way to do that is to just look at who Leah, Yassin, and Razan were. We are contributing members to the society. I am as much American as I am as you are, and it is very offensive when I am hearing someone like Trump attack me personally and other people of my faith to say that we don't belong here and that we need IDs and that there needs to be a ban on us, contributing American citizens who are physicians, lawyers, engineers, teachers, in law enforcement. It's kind of absurd to me that we're putting let's put Muslims into this bucket, and let's, you know, it's the fear of the unknown. And as long as we continue to spew this hate and ignorance, then it's only going to bring on more fear and ignorance and hate and violence.
And you point out rightly that Muslims are professionals all over. They contribute to the fabric of American society. You're a doctor. And I guess I wonder, from your personal experience, in the halls of a hospital, wearing a headscarf, what has that been like for you in this moment, serving the general public?
I have always been proud of my faith growing up, and it's, you know, I grew up in the South, and I have encountered many instances where, whether patients or faculty alike, who at times are racist in what they say. And after February, I became much more acute of the anti-Muslim rhetoric or the certain questions I would be asked because of my hijab. At the same time, I do want to say that there have been so many people who have been outpouring in their support and love, but unfortunately those voices get drowned in the hate. I have had people approach me in the middle of the hallway saying, you know, and I work at San Francisco General Hospital, serving an underserved patient population, majority of whom are homeless. And I have people coming down who are working at the hospital who will say, oh, she mustn't be a terrorist because she has a badge on. And these are words that we hear, that I hear in the halls of my working environment. So this exists in all places. I was almost run over the other day by a patient leaving the hospital who stuck out his middle finger and called me "you effing B" because I was a Muslim. And that's very hurtful to me, that despite me being a contributory model citizen of my country, that I am being attacked and being unwelcomed. And I'd like to also add that with Donald Trump addressing Syrian refugees as if they are this third-class citizen, I have worked with Syrian refugees on the Syrian-Turkish border. I have family members who are now Syrian refugees, and to also dehumanize them and otherize them is beyond despicable and inhumane. And as long as we continue dehumanizing and otherizing people, whoever they may be, then we are at risk of a lot of violence and hate and misunderstandings within our country.
Dr. Suzanne Barakat, thanks so much for joining me tonight.
Thank you.
Still ahead,